It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? Neighbor and friend.
Unless you were born in southwestern Pennsylvania in the late 40s or early 50s, you're most likely unaware of the fact that Mr. Rogers had a show that paved the way for his success with Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The Children's Corner aired from 1954 through 1961, and that's where Fred McFeely Rogers began his career in children's television. WQED was the first public broadcasting station in the nation, with Fred as their first children's programming producer. Along with Josie Carey, he developed and aired the show 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, all broadcast live, completely unscripted.
Oh, I'll never forget the day when Gertrude Berg came. You know, she was the person who played the part of Molly Goldberg on television. And we all just loved that program. And she would always start out with, yoo-hoo! You know, and we thought, oh, she is just going to be wonderful because she's so down to earth and homey. Well, she walked in. We literally were going to go on the air in 1 minute. And she walked into the studio with this long sable coat clear down to her ankles. And I thought, oh, my goodness, she's very different than she is on the air, you know. Well, she got over to my organ and she ripped off that coat and she threw it over the, and we were already on the air. And she walked on with Josie and she said, who lives there? And Josie said, Henrietta Pussycat. And she said, I'd like to talk with her. So she talked with Henrietta and they exchanged the favorite recipes for blintzes. And then she went down the line. She said, what about over there at that castle? And Josie said, well, King Friday the 13th lives there. I want to meet him, she said. So she walked over, and the king came out with his fanfare and just looked at her and said, Mrs. Berg, have you ever been presented at court before? And without a second's hesitation, she said, only night court, Your Majesty.
The Children's Corner with Josie Carey and Fred Rogers, produced by WQED.
You didn't see Fred, never saw Fred. He did all the voices of the puppets, and there was a gal out front, her name was Josie Carey.
You know me too. Why, hi, how do you do? Why, hi, I'm Josie. Why, hi, how do you do?
A very perky, exciting young lady. A lot of fun to work with. But in those days, we had no script.
What do you mean do? Really do something. Like build a house or something.
Josie and Fred and myself would sit down and we'd talk concepts. What do we want the kids to learn today? Everything was spontaneous. We never knew what Josie was going to say, never knew what Fred was going to say.
Well, that was the first thing I thought of. I really didn't think we could do that. No. Not in an hour or a half hour. No.
You got to know Fred was a concert pianist. He was a very accomplished musician and wrote all of the songs that were on the show. Over 200 of those songs were written by Fred. A lot of the lyrics were written by Fred, but also by Josie.